way different. I'm vlogging live from my own device for a variety of reasons. Yeah, so hopefully people will be able to see this. Let me just make sure that everything is open the way it should be. Okay, what is that? It's just the light. All right. So, somebody recently told me, or not recently, when all this started, my life started going off the rails. Somebody was very helpful. I love that map. I just have to show it to you guys, like the actual thing. Oh, it's locked. I can't do it that way. There we go. So, this is way different. Somebody in the beginning of all this told me to make a refuge of your mind. And I've talked about it before, but I want to get a little more in depth because I figured a few things out and I don't know. Once you hear what I have to say, maybe people will start believing that I'm around some pretty nefarious people. If this even gets out to the public, I do not know. I hope that it does. I pray that it does. I pray against demonic interference, and I consider people to be demonic, so let's not go to the crazy route today, okay? Let's not go there. These are things that I have deduced through first research, digging into the devices in my own home, and yes, I'm allowed to do that. It's perfectly legal. And the emails and the following basically an electronic paper trail, because you can't really follow a paper trail anymore. So that's what I'm going to talk about. But first, I want to talk about making a refuge of your mind. Somebody told me that when all this began, and I follow his channel, and I share it a lot. Van Gogh, Starry Night. Yeah. It's my little room. This is my sanctuary, right? But what does making a refuge of your mind mean? Well, I have this place I go to, and I don't want people, again, let's not judge. Let's not go the New Age route. Let's not be afraid of words. I'm sharing my heart here to try and help others. And I know people don't believe me. But that should be pretty obvious at this point that that's why I do this. So when you make a refuge of your mind, first you have to learn how to visualize. And I was really blessed to have a father that taught me how to do that, because I've been in a lot of messed up situations as to where I've needed to have some form of escapism on my own. But I don't mean escapism as in ignoring your problems. I mean inner reflection where you can go away and be quiet for a little while in your mind. Now, how do I do that? I do it in a library, believe it or not. I'm not going to tell you everything because we shouldn't let our enemies know everything about the inner workings of our mind. And I'm going to get to the point of this video and talk about the electronic breadcrumbs, but again, I'm trying to talk about a couple of things so I'm not constantly uploading videos. So when you make a refuge of your mind, you picture a place where you are safe, where you are in control. Remember, it's your mind. You're in control anyway. You are sovereign, and sovereignty is a big part of this video. So once you make that refuge in your mind, once you pick a place, and I picked a library to be my mind's eye. Like that's where I go when I meditate, okay? After I'm done praying, when I want to sit and quietly reflect, I will meditate, or throughout the day, or before I go to bed. And in my mind, it's a library, kind of like the Pen and Ink Library. I think that's the name of the movie with Brendan Fraser. It's a big, ornate, wide library with a spiral staircase and the swinging ladder and even a bay window where I can sit if I want to. That is where I go to reflect upon the situation that I find myself in. And I'm going to talk about those breadcrumbs right now. And when you talk about the things that I'm going to talk about, you get a lot of hate, you get a lot of retribution. So when I say this could be my last video, I'm not being dramatic. If I was being dramatic, I would have to have like a bunch. Hey Harshif, thanks for being here. Thanks for subbing. Okay, so if I were being dramatic, I would have to have a bunch of followers and I would have to be a big person, right? Most people who are dramatic do it for an audience. and no offense, I love you guys, but this isn't a big audience, right? It's not a big platform. And like I said, I don't even know that I'm getting out to regular internet or not. And we've talked about how circular intranets work. This is my sanctuary. I pay half of my SSI / temporary disability to live here. With my settlement, I also bought a vehicle so my family would be safe. I don't even drive. I bought it for them. And I paid the rent everywhere we lived from the time I was 18 until I was about 35. Well, yeah, about 35. Had I known that I didn't even have to work, I would have stayed home and raised my children. And by work, I mean clocking in and clocking out, because we all work every single day, regardless of what we work at or with. Now, I'm showing you my room to show you that, yeah, I have some things. I've kind of dressed it up. My dresser is my dad's. My armoire is my dad's. The desk, one of the neighbors was giving it away. It's mine now, and I trimmed it out. I'm not big on possessions. I don't think anyone else has to be that way. I'm telling you these things for a reason. And this is my testimony. I don't consent to anyone else using it in any part unless it is to get the word out to people that I love and I care about. Because I know that I'm not actually reaching my cousin when I try to message him on Facebook. I know that I'm not actually talking to them. How do I know this? My uncle too. I know it's not actually him. How do I know this? Because they say very generic things that we've talked about before that anyone would know. When I ask personal questions or say something personal about the family, nothing is ever said. You're going to say, why are you going over this again? Because not everybody watches every video. If you understand the verbiage, please consider giving it the thumbs up. I don't know why people act like you're giving money away. People share their hearts. People like me with small channels, we're doing this not for recognition. We're doing it to help others in some small way. And always remember, God is bigger. He is above all things. Yes, we have sovereignty, but He's above it all. Let's talk about royalty, shall we? I might change the title after it's posted. I don't know. But let's talk about the royal, what it means to be royal in this day and age, or what's going on with the royals. So we allegedly had the matriarch pass away. I think it was 2019 when they announced it. I would argue that it happened in 2017 or 16, and I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes. Again, this is factual information that I've looked up, and you can look it up yourself. I'm not big on doing everyone's research for them, though I do have links when that's available. Again, this is a personal testimony. So thank you. Hi Trinity, I love your name. So this is part testimony. This is way different than most of my other videos, okay? And I'm showing you my space to show you that I'm not necessarily a materialistic person. I don't have to have big flashy things. Anything I want or like, I kind of make my own, or I make something that works for me. And I made this my sanctuary because, well, I'll tell you, because I'm a part of a very vindictive family. Now, I didn't know this when I married into them. You're going to say, why are you telling us? Number one, because testimonies matter. Every human being is essential. Everyone should have access to the basics in life. Every being on the planet. Fresh water, fresh food, right in your yard. Access. Immediate access to it if you need it. Everyone should have that. These people know my values. They know that I'm like that. So they have done everything they can to keep me quiet, to hide me from the public, even their own family, to hide me from my family. As far as I know, maybe they told my family I died. I don't know. And I'm not being over dramatic once I tell you what's going on. So I couldn't figure out why everybody was against me, why my husband and children seemed to want to kill me when I came back from Florida. And I ended up, I told the police that things were getting bad, that I was in an abusive relationship for 30 years. I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't have options. When I went to my mother's to stay, thinking, okay, I'll just make a life here. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. I wasn't allowed to use the phone. They kept me trapped in the upstairs apartment. When she left the house, she would lock the outside entrance from her side, and she would lock the inside entrance, and she would take the mouse off the computer so I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Please tell me again that I'm exaggerating or I'm crazy or that these things are normal. If I did not have God, they would have killed me already when I came back from Florida. I couldn't understand why everybody hated me all of a sudden. I couldn't understand why everybody wanted to correct me. I couldn't understand why when I went to church, everybody got mad at me. And I want to make this very clear, and there's a reason it needs to be very clear, because I'm not going to be a sacrifice. If anything happens to me, I will be a martyr. Because I verbally asked my spouse on my knees, why are you doing this? Why are you in such a rage against me and hatred against me now? And he told me, because you went to church. That was it. Because you put God first now. What about me? What about me? What about me? He doesn't understand God, obviously. I said, God puts family first. I said, this is a good thing. And now I've stopped drinking. I've gotten off the pain medication, mostly. This other thing for fibro, it's not really a pain medication, but it's not a pain medication. It does something to your receptors, but that is at the lowest dosage I've been at in 10 years. Why does this matter? Because if somebody tries to say I'm on drugs or that I killed myself, that would be a straight up lie. I do not allow street drugs to pass my temple these days. But again, there's a reason that they wanted me to fall and they wanted to corrupt me back in 2018. And this information may help some of you, because the persecution of Christians is on in America. Just because you're not seeing it, just because maybe you have a circle of loved ones around you, maybe you're a faithful Catholic, maybe you're a faithful Muslim, maybe you're a faithful Christian. If you have other people around you supporting you, maybe you're just a traditionalist and an independent thinker who doesn't want to do what the government tells you all the time. All of those people are on the chopping block right now, each one of those groups. There's a reason you're seeing so many, and maybe you're not seeing them. Do the search. Do the search in YouTube, punch in asylum, and then punch in homeless, and see, ask yourself, why are all these big YouTubers covering the same two topics? Because that's where they want to put people. They want to put them in the asylums again. And they want to do, that's how they're going to offer to clean up the homeless problem, is by reopening these asylums. You don't have to believe me. This is a warning. You cannot say you weren't warned, and when you are asked why you didn't help your brother, sister, neighbor, you're going to have to answer for that, not me. I've done my best to try and help y'all, even my enemies. And praying for your enemies is for you. It's not even for them. You pray for them. You don't pray for your enemies at first. That's how you heal. By praying. Shut up, bro. You don't have to be here. You have no reason to be here if you don't follow the channel. I mean, everybody's welcome. But yeah, I'm not going to shut up. Maybe when I'm dead. But even then, dead's not forever. So that is probably not going to happen with me. So, for those who want to listen to the rest, here I am. I have lived in the midst of my enemies for many years now, and I had no idea of it at first. Now I know, and I'm stuck. They don't like to let me get anywhere. They don't like to let me leave. Bussin' room. It's not, I'm showing it because it is humble. I'm not a public, I am not a public speaker, and I am not a public persona, and I'm not an actress, and I don't have a talent agent. I'm pretty sure everybody does that, corn pop. You should see by all of the trolls I'm getting that what I'm telling you is the truth. If I wasn't telling you the truth, they would not show up at all. There'd be no purpose. So why am I talking about the royal family? Because first the queen allegedly passed in 2019. I think she was gone in 16 or 17. I'll tell you why in a second. Then we see, almost immediately following coronation, I don't like using these terms, but whatever, the king gets, whatchamacallit, he gets cancer. And I've prayed for him. That's a nasty disease. I took care of my father and father-in-law while they were dying of cancer. And it's not fun to watch. I believe it's a deception in a really big way, and I will tell you why. And I have worked in the healthcare industry, but this is not medical advice. For any such advice, go see your chosen expert or professional. This is my personal testimony on what I have done in my life and what has happened as a result of it. But yeah, you're lame. You only show up to do this to people who you know are telling the truth about things. So when I got back from Florida and everything changed, that was 2018, May of 2018. So in my opinion, that would mean if everything started happening to me at that point, again, I think the Queen passed away before that, okay? You're going to say, why am I talking about this? I'll get to it in a minute. Harry and Meghan didn't want nothing to do with it. They left England or whatever, right? Now remember, if you're diagnosed with something, somebody has to bring you that diagnosis. Just like a DNA test. If you have DNA testing done, somebody has to bring you and deliver that news. DNA might not lie. Science, true science is repeatable and observable, okay? But men lie, and the men who deliver these results lie. So keep that in mind as I move forward with this story, please. Now, I took care of my father-in-law. It was 2017, I think, 2016, and he passed of cancer. My dad, it was 2012. When I was doing this research into my computer, I noticed that things in my private life, in my personal life, started becoming pretty visible in the public sector, and I couldn't figure out why. Why is the public emulating my life? Why is everything that's happened to me personally, things that are in our computer, these little data trails that I followed, why are they affecting my personal life? Things like the Asian spas, the massage parlors, right? That'd be a good place to hide certain people. So would storage units, which was also in our history. And these are things that I did not look up. Elon Musk was in there, and not in a way that you would figure. Again, I'm not going to get into all the specifics. Some of these you got to figure out yourself. I bring myself to great danger by doing this, or these people wouldn't be here ridiculing me. I've never seen any of them. They have no business being here. They're probably people I know in person. I know that the guy I worked with, Joe, down at the Dollar Tree, I know that what he did was purpose and intentional. And I also know that he had a channel called Truth Seeker. I think it's still out there, but he doesn't show his face because he knew I'd recognize him. He was doing videos from Florida, and then suddenly he stopped. Again, they give you clues as to what's going on. He basically told me he was going to mess with me and make me lose my job. He said, yeah, people that can't be trusted, it's hard to earn trust again. Now remember, it's not because these people started hating me because I repented, because I went back to my original self, my true self, because I was no longer under their control. And everything you've heard, everything you hear in the tabloids, unfortunately, now I'm seeing is probably true. So I'm going to show you the breadcrumbs, and I really don't care what anyone has to say. If you've watched the rest of the videos and my whole testimony, especially the one right after I was abused, I still have that video. I still have a lot of videos that I've never even published. Okay, more breadcrumbs. In 2017, my mother-in-law made a post on Facebook with my spouse, who I've been with since I was 17, and she put a frame around it that said inspired by royalty. I couldn't find that frame. It's not a public frame. It's nothing you can use or buy. Okay? And you're going to say these aren't, just keep watching or listening. His middle name is Earl. Duke, Earl, Duchess, kind of funny, isn't it? No? Royal figures cannot hold their seat if they're not working. I did not know this. I worked very hard for my whole family. I supported all of us, and my body started to break down because of that and the everyday abuse that I was facing. Verbal abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse, and emotional abuse. So I started having physical ailments. Now remember, like I said before, a doctor has to deliver certain results. And there are ways to make people sick. We know this just by biological warfare. Sandy, do you want me to say your last name? Since you're on here. I mean, I could. There's that peace sign. Or does it mean victory today? Or does it mean F off? There's no reason for you to be here. You don't need to be here. Anyways, if I can't see it, it doesn't matter to me anymore. He hated work until he had to work, okay? And then I started being excluded from family functions and events. My children would go, my husband would go, there would be reasons that I could not go or what have you. I was working a lot, and then when I went to not working, and again, this was instigated. I've never been a healthy person. But you can make somebody sick. You can affect their health. And we know this by things like biological warfare, by things like contagions. We know that this is possible. We know that you can even mutate somebody's cells just by introducing one mutated cell into their body. It can go to the rest. This is basic scientific fact if you look it up. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. This is not medical advice in any way, shape, or form. This is memory. This is years of research. This is years of experience. You can't replace that. No matter how much you try to wipe it away or lie about things, you can't do that to somebody that knows the game, basically. They didn't want me to work, and I couldn't figure out why. Why my husband suddenly, oh, well, you just take it easy and get better, right? Then certain other things started being introduced. And again, the goal was to corrupt me, but let's get past that because we've talked about that ad nauseum. So he hated work and would not work. Public records, anybody can access those, okay? Anybody. So I started looking and digging because lo and behold, my mother-in-law, she works for a title company and she's always in and out of the courthouse and everybody knows and loves her. Until you know these people privately, you have no idea of the nefarious debauchery and abominations that they have committed on me alone. Blood relatives. Everything you've heard in the tabloids about royal families is probably true for some of those people. They keep it in the family line. People are related and do get married and have children, okay? Who knows what we've been told in public school? Maybe it's a lie that if you procreate with your own bloodline. I don't know. I'm just saying some of the things you heard are probably true. Now, everybody wants to talk about the Catholic Church and how there's child harmers there. Let's be real clear. Child harmers are everywhere at this point. Everywhere. And they are running things. And they are okay with debasing and corrupting minors and young people and babies even. When they tried to kill me, I know that they wanted me in a heightened state of fear. And the only way that makes sense for adrenaline purposes is if you're going to harvest that. Somebody physically asked me, what are you afraid of? Why aren't you scared? I said, I'm not afraid of anything. I've lived with you for 30 years. What worse can you do to me at this point? Seriously. What worse can you do? You've bludgeoned me, you've beat me, you've chokeslammed me, you've cockered on me. What more can you do? And this is why I'm being tucked away, is because I tell the truth. I admit when I'm wrong, and I tell the truth. And people don't, for whatever reason, they don't want us to have leaders or figures that admit when they're wrong. It takes some type of godlike or deity type aspect away from them. So they don't want you to admit this thing, okay? So public records can be traced no matter what. So I started looking at his side of the family and the people who have passed away. And lo and behold, I saw that the estates were going to Israel. And even more, we're going to Texas, some research center, cancer research center. And again, as I've told you, you can give these things to people. I watched my dog get a pea-sized lump on him, and I watched it grow at an astronomical rate. And I even accused my husband of giving him cancer. I said, you did that to him. I know you did. Because for whatever reason, when these things started happening around me, I had already repented and I had hit my knees to God. And once that happened, the gift that I had as a child came back full force. Call it telepathy, call it psychic, call it prophet, call it oracle. I don't care. I'm just a regular girl. I am not special. We all have things that God has given us. Okay. And I proved it to him because he went and hid something and I went and found it. Immediately I knew where he put it. It was mine. I went and got it. And they know this. And they're using this. They're using me for who knows what purposes. I've been asked what investments people should make. And I mean, it's in such a way it's slipped into conversations as to where I don't even know what's happening. So they're abusing me like that woman in the New Testament with Paul. Only again, this gift or whatever it is came back when I repented. The Holy Spirit started speaking to my heart again. God started speaking inside of me. No, it's not an audible voice. No, it's not. I'm not schizophrenic, although I don't think anyone in this current society is totally, quote unquote, normal, sane. What does that even mean anymore, right? So I was doing this research, and I found out that most of the estates that they kept being handed down to other people. There was like a funneling thing happening. And then it was going to Texas. It's probably money laundering. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up. And it was going to Israel, okay? Cousins, kissing cousins. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything else other than that. Kissing cousins. What you've heard is probably true. Now, people have wanted me to advocate publicly for child harmers. That's why all this started happening, is because I started speaking out on Facebook. I asked my pastor to go to the school with me to speak about some of the programs they had after school. I think any type of in-depth talk about sex should be had between the parent and the child. That's my opinion. And if the parent isn't willing to do it, then maybe you can bring in a counselor or a doctor, but the parent should be present. I have went to counselors before in school, and I went to a counselor at my lawyer's behest who told me I should go, that it makes it helps with your disability case because you're being isolated, and sometimes it can help. The main reason I went was for my marriage, but I could not get him to go. He would not go. For years, he said that he was not willing to do that. And then suddenly in 2018, 2019, he wanted me going to a shrink. Again, the goal is to lock people like me up. If you don't believe me, look at the Kennedy sister story. Look at Mary Typhoid Mary. And I've gone over both of these cases in past videos because I'm trying to put out a warning to people about what is coming. Yes, I hear you, Jack. My older dog, he's sad and he's old and I think he's dying, and he was up all night whining, and we've given him stuff all night long, and it's just, I'm ignoring him for right now. I'm going to finish this. My last name is Javaden. It's under the house of Merovingian. I didn't know that. Now, and again, the world will tell you things are evil when they're actually not evil. In the Matrix, the name Merovingian is used for the bad guys. The people who fall under the house of Merovingian, they are in the same bloodline as Christ. Now, people will say, you didn't have any children. Hello, Mary had more children, and her womb was consecrated. James the Just. He was just because why was her womb consecrated? Because she did not eat of life, or she did not eat of death, and she did not eat of flesh and blood. She was a vegan or a vegetarian. And I'm not going to get into the argument with the Jewish people right now because, no offense, they're not even the real Jewish people. So I'm just not going there. And I told you about the things my dad and mom always said. My mom always said every day almost to undermine my dad, your dad thinks he's royalty. Your dad thinks he's royalty. The last name Javaden, you know that's royalty, right? And they were trying to tell me without telling me, because maybe it's dangerous to tell you this. Because Francis King has been usurped more than once. And again, we are the bloodline of Christ. We're in the same bloodline. So I don't even think I'm supposed to know this. I didn't know this until the last year. That means that either he and I are partially related because they only procreate with people they're related to. And it also means I've had relatives drop in left and right like flies. My dad passed in 2012. The oldest brother and his family passed years before that. My cousin, a girl, she passed away just last year of cancer, and she's only 2 years older than me. Every single one of them is allegedly dying of cancer. Every single one. So either we've got a big radiation problem, or there's something going on with our food and water and air, or there's somebody targeting my specific bloodline. And yes, I'm not going to debate this with you. Look it up. If you introduce mutated cells into somebody's body, that does bad things. But again, I'm not a doctor. Go ask your doctor if you trust him. Seek all your medical advice from them, from your physicians. I am not a physician. This is not medical advice in any way, shape, or form. So I've tried for the last couple of years to reach out, to reach my family. Even my mother-in-law is different. The things that she says are conversations we've had already. It's like this. It's literally like talking to a robot or an NPC who only has 3 or 4 lines, because that's what they're doing. My mother-in-law, it's in person, and people in the neighborhood, it's in person. But in like messages, when I try to reach out, text or messenger, it's very basic, generic conversations that we have had before. See? Do you see how this operates? I no doubt somebody's like blowing a dog whistle. Hold on. Jack! I'll be there in a second. Alright. So that's basically everything I had to say about this one. I do think my family has some type of royal bloodline. I'm not saying that to impress you. It's not important. What's important is that these are the people that are around me. I see how they operate on a daily basis. These are regular people. Now, either the people we see on TV are proxies and they have nothing to do with anything and they're just actors and actresses. That's actually what I'm going for. I think they're proxies. Or again, I'm just in a family that is related to all these people, and that's why I'm seeing this behavior that matches theirs. The AC, my bet is still on a certain redhead. I pray it's not him. However, again, if he's a proxy, it's very possible that I married the Antichrist of our generation. And that's why they don't want me talking, because I know how abusive he has been. I know all the things that they have done. I know the things that they've been involved in. And now that they've moved up in life or moved up a line, they got to hide me away. They can't have me saying anything. So for all intents and purposes, I may as well be locked away in a tower. Oh, there's my lovely neighbors. Lovely. Yeah, they're my monitors. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I pray for them every day. Every single day. I pray for these people who abuse me. If this story interests you, I would ask you to hit the like button. If you appreciate my honesty, or if you understand the verbiage, or you gathered anything, I would ask you to consider it. The channel probably will never be monetized. They don't want me to have any money, because then I would have a way to get away from them. The only way I'm going to be able to get away is on my own 2 feet. And then it's going to be easier for them to eliminate me. My goal is to get back home, where I can work away from constant oppression, repression, and outright abuse. This should not be done to people. You should not be able to just tuck somebody away and basically forget that they're alive. I'm in like the worst fairy tale at this point imaginable. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I do pray all the time. I pray for you guys. I'm going to go take care of my dog, because you heard him. He's kind of getting ornery. But yeah, I'll leave you with my cool picture. Have a blessed day. If you missed the video before this one, the most recent vlog style one, you should check that out, because some of this will make more sense then. Bye, guys.